Are you looking for a fun way to win up to 25 times your money this football and basketball season? Test your skills on Prize Picks, the most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Just select 2 or more players, pick more or less on their projections for a wide variety of stats, and place your entry. It's as easy as that. If you have the skills, you can turn $10 into $250 with just a few taps. Easy gameplay, quick withdrawals, and injury insurance on your picks are what makes Prize Picks the #1 daily fantasy sports app. Ready to test your skills? Join the Prize Picks community of more than 7 million players who have already signed up. Right now, Prize Picks will match your first deposit up to $100. Just visit prizepicks.com/bluewire and use code BLUEWIRE. That's code BLUEWIRE at prizepicks.com/bluewire for a first deposit match of up to $100. Prize Picks, daily fantasy sports made easy.
Today's episode is brought to you by Cars.com. With over 2 million vehicles and 50,000 more added every day, Cars.com will match you with the perfect car for you, your budget, your life, your style. And if you're ready to say goodbye to your current car, Cars.com will get you an instant offer to cash it in. Just start by entering your license plate and get matched with a local dealer who will write you the check. So whether you're looking to buy or sell, just go to Cars.com. It's magical.
Hello, friends. Welcome to Mavs Party. I am so sorry for not recording a show last night. Those of you who pay attention to some of the things I said, I mentioned that I might not be doing a live show because I was going to my 20th high school reunion. And I proceeded to watch the game from the reunion. But by the time I got home, I was not in the state of mind to where, well, I couldn't speak clear English because I was sauced out of my mind. Did get to talk Mavs with a lot of my friends and a few of my new friends who I talked into subscribing to the podcast. So if Anthony and Matt are out there listening to the show at some point, once it goes up on a podcast, thanks for chatting Mavs with me. We had a great time. So that was an unbelievable basketball game. I mean, as I was, talking with the Mavs Moneyball staff, it was so laugh out loud funny because Josh told me, he said, you're missing a great game from a fan point of view, but what are we going to talk about other than the fact that this is just a destruction of the Memphis Grizzlies, and I'm pretty sure that takes Ja Morant. He still only has one head-to-head matchup win against Luka. Luka just the night after the Grizzlies were on night 2 of back-to-back. Ja Morant had 49 points the night before. Looked like they might have been a little out of gas, 3 games in 4 nights. But they're a young team, and they get everybody's best effort, or they gave everybody's best effort the year before. So it's pretty fun to watch the Mavericks go out there and just establish dominance. There's all sorts of stuff we can talk about from this game, like great plays, highlights, great quotes. I want to go find the one that the Dallas Mavs, it was one of these things. So the Landon Thomas actually quoted it, but nobody else really put it out there, which was And today it was from Luka. He said, he, meaning Christian Wood's, an amazing player. He listens to us. He accepts his role. He's just doing amazing stuff out there. It's only been 2 games, but he's going to be very good for us. I think if I get my math correctly, Tim McMahon said he has 50 points and 20 rebounds in his first 2 games, which is just laugh out loud funny. As Jacob points out in the chat, Wood is through 2 games looking like what we had hoped Kristaps Porzingis would be. All right, so I'm going to start bringing folks up. We're going to be talking for a while. We'll talk for as long as you want, half hour. I don't really care. I waited till the Cowboys game was over to start recording, so here we are. If you come up on stage, be sure to look for your listen for your name. Look for the green ring around your icon to light up. That's indicating that you're talking. Make sure you're not muted. And we will we'll have ourselves a good time for a little while because a game like that should be celebrated. All right, first up is my man Harold, who has been talking at me for, the better part of a half day about this game. Harold, what's up?
Hey, Kirk, how are you?
I'm good. You should crow. Have a good time with this because you're feeling very bullish. Let's just get on your soapbox and give us a lecture. Tell us why the Mavs are going to win.
Yeah, I'm just one of those people that, I like to tell people, I told you so, I told you so, I told you so. hearing all these people on Twitter, like Tim Temps, I think it's his name, him saying that the Mavs are a play-in team, and a lot of people saying the Mavs are a play-in team. This team made the Western Conference Finals last year, okay? And we showed people that with a superstar player like Luka Doncic and some good three-point shooters and some good defense, we can get very far. And now we have Christian Wood, who I like Nick Angstead. I love the guy, love their show and all that Locked On Mavs. But he was saying, hey, Christian Wood's going to average about 15, 16 points per game, maybe be the third best scorer. I can remember when we got Christian Wood, there was so much excitement, and then people just had to well, it's not really that good. He's really bad at defense. And then I heard people saying, oh, Dwight Powell is better than him at defense. When I had tried to make the argument, we just turned Dwight Powell into the second best three-point shooting center in the entire NBA. The entire NBA. And just as good of defense. And I actually thought Christian Wood could play better defense than Dwight Powell if he plays the four. I didn't say all that because I think people would have probably just laughed at me on the chat. But he has played, very, I'm going to say very good, but good defense, solid defense over the last two games. It's been tremendous with Luka on offense. And, when you have a guy like Luka Doncic, a maestro of the basketball court, and you give him a little toy like Christian Wood to throw lobs to, flip passes back, not be KP, where you throw the ball down low and KP, like a scarecrow, is waving his arms around, doesn't know what to do, and the ball gets knocked out. And at the end of the game, KP is saying, hey, I just got to get my rhythm, I just got to get my rhythm. Good Lord. I mean, come on, Kirk. You know. The guy's trying to get his rhythm. And look at Christian Wood. He's if the very first game he plays with the Mavs after a few preseason games, the guy looks like he's belonged there the whole time. That's what we need.
Well, I'm glad you brought up Wood immediately because Wood's going to be the most interesting story, despite Luka just looking like he's having a great time out there. Josh Bowe wrote a piece for the site today about Christian Wood's passing, like specifically focusing on the passing. Now the scoring, I mean, you watch highlights of Wood. And the highlights tapes of him make him look like one of the best basketball players of all time because he's just so supremely skilled at scoring. Like scoring just comes easy for him. And watching the passes that he's making, it's the right read. Some of them are real simple passes, but I never want to underestimate the simple read because it's something that is, over time when you start making the simple read, the right read, teams get tape on you saying, okay, well, if Wood gets the ball out of the short roll, he's the 15-foot area. He can dunk. Yep. He can shoot it. He can pass the corner. He can pass the other corner. He can dribble it out. Like he becomes like the sort of triple threat option. Honestly, the short roll stuff is something we've wanted like Luka to do for a while as a roll man. And if you just make the right play enough times, you basically make our offense unguardable. Now it's a 2-game sample size. I cannot emphasize this enough. Like the Mavs offensive rating with Wood on the floor is hysterical. It's 137. Like they're just roasting people on offense. Defense, I understand what you're saying. He made a real nice Matt Moore, my friend at the Action Network, highlighted a play of him basically containing John Moran on a drive, containing him enough for Luka to come over and help. And Matt summed it up after the fact, saying all Wood really needs to do is not get destroyed, and then everything else can come into form because the Mavericks have a lot of very good team principles. Like it's going to take time for it to work it out in the rotations, and for their defense probably won't be really good, I would say, until late December, just because it's going to take time. But the pieces that are there are real nice. They're just going to have, they just sort of need to continue to tinker and test and see what's up. I mean, this game that we're going to play, is it tomorrow night or Tuesday night? Tuesday night against New Orleans is going to be a really big test. But the pieces are there. There's a lot of fun to be had with this team. So I'm glad you're feeling so.
Oh yeah, I'm very excited, and I think all Mavs fans should. I really think this team could win the championship this year.
Wow.
Okay,
well,
this year.
Teams are going to start to give up like that. That can't be understated. The Mavericks are not going to be one of those teams. So the right teams go sideways. Like we're watching the Lakers are fixing to go 0-3 this afternoon. As far as I'm concerned, they're playing Portland. They're down to Portland, who is somehow 2-0. Like Charlotte's going to detonate. The damn Minnesota Timberwolves look weird. Like there's just some things are going to go sideways, and so it's like, is the path there? I don't know, but I can understand why you feel that way right now, and I think you have every right to.
Yeah, I just think that, and I've said this before, I think Luka Doncic is better than people know. I think a lot of Mavericks fans.
How does he look right now, man? Like you've been talking to me for 3 months. I'm kind of worried about his fitness level. Just sort of, just he looks good. He looks real good, like quick.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I love it. I'm so excited. I still wanted to lose about 10 more pounds, but I get all the people who say like he likes to be just a little bit heavy.
Do that. He might do that through the course of the season. Like most NBA players have trouble keeping weight because it's just you're burning X number of calories every day. You like literally can't keep it down. So I mean that just might happen through due course. But what we're talking about now is instead of needing to lose 25 pounds, maybe losing 5 to 10 pounds just through course of action, as opposed to like it affecting his state of play.
That would be nice, but he's got to lay off the beer and all that too. So that's also part of it.
That was not a thing I did last night. I did not lay off the beer. It was great. Well, thanks for joining us, buddy. You got anything else?
No, that's good. I'll save it for another show. You take care, Kirk.
All right, talk soon. All right, coming up next, then let's go with my man Henry. What's up, Henry?
What's going on, Kirk?
I'm just having a nice afternoon. Somebody mentioned why am I not watching the Chiefs, and I'll watch and be angry about them in the second half. I wanted to talk to you.
Yeah, they're in the red zone right now, so you guys are looking pretty solid. I think an underrated aspect about Wood, I'm still remaining cautiously optimistic, but the guy draws fouls at an absurd rate. Like 24 free throws in 2 games. Like, if he can keep that up, man.
The free throw thing has such a downhill positive effect for everything else the Mavericks do. Because if you get into bonus, like they did this in game 1, I really wasn't paying attention last night because I was at a bar. But if you get into bonus with like 3+ minutes remaining in a quarter, then you should just relentlessly attack the rim. And when you have a guy like Luka and then Wood, that's just something the Mavericks should be eating on free throws. I don't know where they'll be, but if they continue to play like this, they should be top 10 in the league in free throw attempts as a team.
Big facts. And also, if we're only going to see Dwight Powell with 7 minutes left in the fourth quarter of these games, I think we're going to be pretty good.
So, okay, tell me about this, because I stopped watching Crunch Time. I fourth quarter was not paying any attention. Who did we see late? I know Jaden Hardy played late, but who did we see late, and what did you think of how they played?
I mean, Tyler Dorsey, flamethrower.
Did he actually hit some shots?
Ooh, buddy.
Let me look here. Okay, sure. So his preseason streak got busted because that man couldn't find water if he was standing next to the ocean in the preseason.
Yeah, man, came off with like 10 quick points, was 3 for 3, I think. Yeah, man, he looked pretty good too.
That's good stuff. All right, I like that. 7 minutes for Powell, and yeah, I love me some Dwight Powell as a concept, but I love that we also don't have to see him every night.
Well, he was just out there flailing around like he usually does.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Well, that's all I got, Kirk. Shout out to you owning these podcast gatekeepers. Keep up the good work, sir.
That was a weird day online. Thanks, Henry. All right, talk soon. All right, who we got next? We got coming up, my man Jay Pry. Are we playing in fantasy today, dude?
No, we're not playing in fantasy today. Trust me, it'd be all over the TL. If I.
Okay. Well, I mean, I play in like 9 different leagues, and so I just like I'm never happy, but I'm also never mad. So I never it takes me till like middle of the afternoon to figure out where I'm standing in these things. So, what's going on today, dude?
Oh man. So I mean, first of all, great just to have a back-to-back Mavericks and Cowboys win. Those are so hard to come by these days.
That's a good point.
Yeah, it's so nice. I just feel good as a Dallas fan today. But getting to the basketball side of things, man, I keep seeing people talking about Christian Wood being six man of the year. Dude, in a month, that man's going to start. There's no way in a month that he's not going to be starting.
I'm not sure. I just don't like. Kid is a stubborn mule.
He is.
Hear me out.
Okay.
What if he stays 6 man? But then we kind of collectively start pushing for an all-star nod because the All-Star nod is like that sort of positioning for him is much more important than starting, even though I'm sure he does want to start. Like contract year All-Star Christian Wood would be really fun, like just as a narrative standpoint. Also because like 6 man a year All-Star, like that would be huge for him, also huge for Dallas. I sort of wonder if that's the angle that they go, because if you can, he and Luka play so well together, but also if he can continue to eat, like his usage rate, I want to say
it's like 37%.
Who is it in the chat? I'm in like 19 group
chats. Or 35%.
35% is a big time usage rate thing. And SJ, I think, was the one who told me about it. She said, and it really is helping, kind of for both Wood and for Luka, because it means Luka's not pounding the hell out of the ball. It means Wood can eat a little bit on his own. So there's some value in that. Like, I don't know if they start him. I really don't. It's going to be interesting to see what they do, but it's going to take a lot of games for Kidd to. He probably won't change much for at least 10 games, and I would be more shocked if it's the first quarter of the season.
I just feel like it'd be tough if because like you said earlier, it's a 2-game sample size, so we're not talking about a whole lot of time here. But if he can continue to be on a 25-10 pace. It's almost disrespectful to have him off the bench. And I know that, we had Jason Terry years ago and he was like our jump start off the bench, but I don't know. Like when I watch him play, the way that he plays is just so pure on offense and it just comes so naturally to him that I don't see any world where at least by, the new year, he's not starting. It may not be a month, that might be overzealous, but he's got to start at some point this season if he continues the track that he's on.
Well, that wouldn't shock me as a general point of order, just because of how long the season is, where, you get guys resting. If like Luka rests a game, then maybe you mix up the starting lineup and do something wild and put Luka in, and put Wood in. So Kidd is so stubborn about this. Now, if Wood can continue to play the defensive effort that I've seen him show, then maybe that gets in there, because he has. Like, I'm not going to sit here and tell everybody I think he's played great defense, because I've also watched him miss a bunch of stuff. But I've watched a lot of the defense miss stuff. Like, this is basketball's hard, and defense is so much about like connective tissue and repetition over time with the guys that you're playing with, where you have to trust that not only does the helper, the guy who's coming to cover you, it becomes like a kinetic chain, where your defense is like an amoeba floating around. Like, that just takes time and minutes together on the floor.
For sure. And it is the start of the season. Everyone's going to be a little bit rusty. We are putting in some new pieces, so it is going to take some communication and some time just to be able to fix those gaps. But even I know he didn't have a particularly great defensive performance against the Suns, but a lot of kind of what I noticed his issues was a lot of communication stuff of, this guy's wide open, Damian Lee's wide open because I didn't catch this assignment, versus when he's actually guarding whoever has the ball one-on-one, I'm seeing effort. I'm seeing him, close out. He's, keeping them in front of him the whole time. And that's all. He just has to be an average defender. That's all he has to be.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's just something to lean in on and enjoy right now. Because the Mavericks, and here's the thing that I'm going to kind of be thinking about the next coming weeks. The Mavericks look good, but there's also not. I'm not willing to put a ceiling on what I've seen through 2 games,
right?
And that's where you really want to go. Like, one of the things about like that in hindsight was so difficult about the 2006-2007 Mavericks, a team that won a bajillion basketball games. I think they were 67-15.
Yeah, it was so ridiculous.
They were so good, but they also didn't have a gear to get to. That became really clear. They went on a 52-4 run at one point, and it was amazing at the time, but they were closing out these games. They had like a really amazing record in 5-point wins and losses. Clutch time games, I guess is the correct term. Right. And once they kind of faltered down the stretch, it was clear that they didn't have another gear to go to. And that's what I'm going to be looking for with these Mavericks. Like, what can they do differently? How can they take advantage? Because teams will inevitably figure out something to slow the Mavericks team. I don't think they'll find anything to start or slow Luka. But I do think that there's going to be elements of defenses that figure out how to cut off what the Mavericks have been really successful with in the first few games.
For sure.
How do they counter and how do they build up from there?
Yeah, definitely. But I mean, it's been a good start to the season. I mean, 6 out of 8 of our first quarters have been just incredible. I know that we did have that third and fourth quarter against Phoenix that kind of sucked, but man, we're playing good basketball right now, and
that's great.
I feel good about the season. So
good. Enjoy the day then, because somebody pointed out in the chat the Stars also won, so it's just a nice Dallas sports day.
I'm a Capitals fan, unfortunately. Hopefully no one kills me in the chat for that, but
all right. Well, thanks for joining today, man.
For sure. Thanks, Kirk.
Okay, coming up next then we have Grayson. What's up, buddy?
Hey, Kirk. Not much. Enjoyed the game last night. I think this is going to be a fun season for us. I'm excited.
You sound not excited. We
No.
all hungover today. What are we doing?
It is a Sunday, so maybe. But no, it was great last night. I caught the first half of the game, and that's all I really needed to see.
Yeah, 64-36 at the half. I think. Like I was walking around the reunion for like seeing anybody who I knew would care, being like, "Look at this! It's great."
Yeah, I checked the box score after, and I was like, yeah, it wasn't game one at least.
Yeah, no, not letting them back in it is important.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it was just the fact that the Grizzlies had played 3 games in 4 days, but we can't ignore that. I mean, that's fine. We don't have to talk about that. We can just celebrate the fact that we destroyed them.
Yeah, well, I think that's what we should do. Anything in particular stand out to you that you wanted to harp on this afternoon?
Yeah. Well, someone already talked about the free throws, but I just wanted to make note of that as well because they shot 36 free throws last night, and I cannot remember a time when this team shot 36 free throws like in the Luka era at all, I don't think. And a lot of that was, again, the Grizzlies were being super lazy on defense, but between Luka, who's not only getting to the line more, but also shooting his free throws better, and Wood getting to the line a lot. And also Timmy actually got to the line
8 times. 8 times. That's wild.
So that's great. I don't know if they're going to get 36 free throws every game, but I love to see that because that's just free points. And I was really excited to see Luka shooting his free throws better. I was also excited to see – I'm curious to get your thoughts on Luka's defense. I saw he had 2 steals and 2 blocks, and I was he didn't seem like a defensive liability in the first.
No, he played. I've seen a couple of clips. So again, I was watching. I normally watch on an enormous ass television. Nothing stood out that was bad, and then there were a couple of times where he did some nice help defense. Sometimes he gambles a little much for me, but he's feeling a little lighter on his feet. It's hard for me to put a number or anything other than a feeling, but he feels a little quicker, just a little quicker. And that has made a big difference in how I think he looks early on.
Yeah, he seems to have found some of that like early rookie second season Luka burst and explosiveness.
Yeah.
Especially like if we're talking from the 2K perspective, like his first step, I think it's like the quick first step badge is like crazy this year. I've been really impressed, but he's always been quick, but now he feels a little faster in a way. It's hard to explain. I'm also kind of on like the Christian Wood doesn't need to start train. Like I really like his minutes with Luka a lot, and I enjoy the pairing and the pick and roll that they run, but also Wood is really good on offense, and when Luka's on the floor, like you don't need as much offensive help as when Luka's off the floor. And so I kind of see where they're coming from, bringing him off the bench. You kind of stagger his minutes with Luka on and off the court a little bit and boost your offense. I'm curious to see what they do with the rotations for the rest of the year. And
we're long enough into this now to where I still sort of feel like they're a guy or two short. Once again, and this is not like, again, I'm not crushing the guy, but over the last 2 games, Josh Green has played a combined 33 minutes and taken 1 field goal. Like, You got to do something else out there, man. You got to eventually. It's as long as it doesn't catch up with the team. Maybe they can use him in a really specialized role. I don't know, but it feels like. So let's just go through the starting lineup last night. Luka, Dinwiddie, McGee, Bullock, Finney-Smith. That's 5 guys, and you got Kleber, Hardaway, Wood. After that, they just over the course of the season, I really think you need 10, 11 guys, and right now the guys that they're trying out, you're just. Hardy needs to find more minutes. I think he came in and just guns a-blazing and missed all 3 of his shots. I don't know about Dorsey. It's just that. Then, granted, this is nitpicking. I just wonder if over time it starts because injuries happen, things like that. It's just something that's kind of on my mind.
Yeah, I agree, but I also think you're right. You do need 11 guys that can contribute, but filling minutes is the most important thing.
Sure.
So, and that's I'm going to be the millionth person to say this, but they could just really use a third ball handler and shot creator, a guy that can set up the offense. And I'd be really curious to see if they consider moving, Powell and maybe Hardaway. Those guys' salaries add up to $30 million, which I don't know how tradable that is. And then maybe Josh Green too, like you were just saying. I haven't been impressed with them, and I just don't know.
His defense, the chat is pointing this out, and it's worth saying. His man-to-man defense is significantly improved, where I feel like he's either getting more leeway from the refs, which might be part of it. I feel like his footwork and point of attack stuff is a lot better. He got burned last year on single dribble stuff. I'm like, this guy's supposed to be laterally quick. What are we doing? And I've really liked his contain efforts so far. I think he's got good hands. It's just you got to be out there for more than cardio. He's got 15 minutes. He's got one assist, 1 make. He did make the basket, a couple of free throws, and 5 fouls. And it's just there's a little. And granted, again, nitpicking. But there's going to be a moment where he gets shoved into the top 8 of the rotation because of other issues. And I want to see him. I want to see him do more because I think he can. We've seen it. He just needs to actually do it.
100%. And I think it's also a sample size thing. I'm not totally ruling out that he could be a contributing member of the team this year and play good and valuable minutes.
Sure.
I don't know if that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, but it's like you said, if you're beating teams the way they've held, 2 20-plus point leads in their first 2 games. So it's not like when you're playing crunch time, we have to worry about these sort of things. Anyways, I'm just more thinking it's exactly what you've mentioned. It's eating up minutes. Can you do this so you don't have to play? And last night, you look at these lineups, Luka played the most minutes, 30 minutes. That sort of stuff is just, if you get away with this in games where you're keeping guys' minutes totals down, that just pays off. I mean, they got 4 games this week, and a couple of them against teams. They play Orlando and Oklahoma City. I got those reversed, I think, back to back. And it's if they could, come out and punish the team on Saturday so that they can take some get some rest for the guys so they can play again on Sunday. Those are just the sort of things that are in my head, even if it's pretty early in the year.
Yeah, 100% agree. I appreciate your time, Kirk. The last thing I'll say is I'm really excited for the game on Tuesday, not just to see more Mavs basketball, but I haven't gotten the chance to watch the Pelicans this year yet. And that trio of CJ, Zion, and Ingram seems like it could be a lot of fun.
Yeah. I don't know how we defend them. I don't know how they defend us.
Yeah, exactly. And
Zion is just. I know there are a lot of people out there that don't believe in Zion on a season-wide basis, but on a game-to-game thing, he's just a force of nature. I mean, my goodness, I'm really looking forward to that game too.
Let me just go on the record and say Zion is still that guy.
I've said this before. I said it before, but when I went to Vegas, I put 4 $10 bets down on MVP. Put 1 for Luka, 1 for Giannis, 1 for Durant, just because I really like Durant, and then I put 1 down for Zion, and I got Zion at plus 6,600.
Oh, okay.
For MVP, because it was there's just no MVP because we didn't really see him yet. It was that early, and he's just he's fun. He's just fun to watch because he's got a lot better touch. His defense is still a little lacking, but he was a monster at Duke on defense, which makes me think it's similar to efforts of what we're talking about from Wood and then from Luka, where it's sometimes you just got to try a little harder.
Well, I will think it's very funny if they end up as like the second or the third seed and Zion wins MVP, because that's basically what Luka did last year. I mean, we were the 4th seed last year.
Right.
But I think like for Luka or Zion to be MVP, they're going to have to be a really high seeded team in the West. Because despite some early missteps, I still think the West is going to be pretty good this year.
Yeah, I do too. All right, man. Thanks for hanging out.
Appreciate it.
This is advertiser content brought to you by Frito-Lay.
Hello, I'm Chip Murphy, here to get you ready for the big tournament. Tonight we'll break down who will be cutting. Cut! What are you two doing?
Sorry, Chip. Prez here got his feathers ruffled when I told him Ruffles has 0 chance of winning the title.
And I was letting Dip know that she is not taking into account Ruffles' iconic ridges.
Guys, it's March. We have to start talking about the tournament.
We are. It is the 2023 Frito-Lay Snack It.
We're talking about big-time matchups between Cheetos, Smart Food, Lay's, Sun Chips, and more.
Just head to the Frito-Lay Snack Bracket and vote for your favorite chip, pretzel, or dip for a chance to win up to $1,000 or a year's worth of snacks.
This sounds great. Keep up the good work.
Just go to fritolaysnackit.sbnation.com. No purchase necessary. Sweepstakes ends 4/3/2023. Void where prohibited. Here's worth of snacks awarded in the form of 52 coupons, each good for 1 bag of chips. See official rules at fritolaysnackit.sbnation.com.
All right, coming up next then is my man Krishna. What's up?
Hey Kirk, how are you doing?
All right, nice little Sunday here.
That's good. That's always good, especially after it seems like you had a great night last night.
Oh yeah, it's I probably drink a little more than I ought to, but I've also learned from doing this with the basketball and stuff. It's like I have a pretty good idea when to stop. I was up late, and then there's something different. It's like if you're in your house, I can stay. If I'm at home, I can stay up all hours. But I'm like out of my house. It's like it's 10:30, man. I gotta get home and get to bed. It's exhausting, and I just last night I just stayed out. So what's going on?
Totally. Yeah, I'm doing well. I was trying to watch the Stars game because that was so annoying. The Stars game was like ending right as the Mavs game was starting. It was very, very weird. But I think it was interesting. Josh talked about it in the podcast. Josh Bowe, your coworker, talked about it in the podcast. There are some I guess precursors or qualifying things where the Grizzlies, yes, are coming off I think 3 and 4. But also the Grizzlies, you just look at their style of play, it's just never worked against the Mavericks. And I think we often complain about how the Mavs play with this. They had the slowest pace last year, but against the Grizzlies, it just always works.
That's a great point.
They just can
styles make fights. Is what and the Mavericks just work them based off of that.
Exactly, and I think sometimes it definitely frustrates me. I do wish Luka pushed the ball up, and there was moments of that last night, right? That Luka pass to Reggie. I mean, that was great, and it's kind of just a great example of just push the tempo a little bit sometimes, but you need that slow pace other times when you play really young teams because when you're young, you just have a lot of energy and you want to play in transition, and when you force a team like the Grizzlies to play in the half court, it's not that they're bad, but they're just not as good at it as they should be. But it was a really good game, and honestly, it was really, I think everyone had the same idea. Can you continue what you did in the first half versus Phoenix, or are you going to be what we saw in the second half? And I think it's good that, yes, all the qualifying things, but it's good that you can still show that because you still need to win games against other teams. It doesn't necessarily matter who the team is or what all the situations are. You still need to win the games, which I thought was good.
Yeah, and it's always fun to have fun because that is really amusing. When I was at this reunion, I've probably talked to 10 or 12 people about that Phoenix game, and to a T, every single one of my friends is like, "We stayed up late for that."
I mean, I appreciated it in the sense, I thought about, okay, if you're a neutral, that's an exciting game to watch. Right. Of course, I'm not a neutral, so it completely sucked. But it was, one of the things I took away from it is, the defense early on is not perfect, but it's still looking really good. Like the fact that you're holding the Suns to like less than 110 points, or you're holding the Grizzlies obviously to less than 100. Yes, it was like a blowout, but you holding a team to less than 100 points. There's like good aspects of it. It's not perfect. I'm not saying the defense is already great, but I was thinking about this because I forgot who mentioned it, but it was someone from The Athletic. It wasn't Tim Cato, but they were mentioning how more than offense, season to season, defensive schemes, they translate way better. And Maxey, I think, was talking about at the beginning of the season how since so many people had already been there, they felt like they don't have to start from scratch like last season with the defensive schemes. And I think that's something that I don't want to say has gone underrated, but it's something that I think you're kind of seeing way more, is that when you have someone like Luka, who basically the entire offense runs through, you don't have to worry so much about scheming. But with the defense, you have to worry about scheming because the whole part is you don't really necessarily have a defensive anchor. And so the scheme is what everyone relies on. And the fact that you have less people trying to learn the scheme every time they're on the court, I think helps.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
For sure. And actually, I hate to do this, but I was thinking about this earlier because of Andrew Wiggins, and this is a weird point. But, you know, I've seen some kind of similarities in Christian Wood and Andrew Wiggins. Like, you think about how when Andrew Wiggins got traded to the Warriors, that was less about Andrew Wiggins. It was more about Russell going over to Minnesota. And, you know, the Warriors getting more people were excited about the Warriors getting a first-round pick than Andrew Wiggins. And obviously Christian Wood is not Andrew Wiggins. But, like, you look at what Andrew Wiggins now, you can make the argument is that Wiggins is, like, the Warriors' second-best player just because of his consistency on both sides of the ball. And I don't think Christian Wood is going to be, like, a defensive stopper. But what we've kind of seen is that, like you talked about it with Tim, I think, that Christian Wood is just kind of an extension of Luka when he's in the pick and roll. Whereas when Luka makes a pass to everyone, it's sort of quick trigger decisions for them to either shoot or pass back to him. Whereas Christian Wood, it's an extension and making another play. And I think that's going to add a good element. And I think him coming off the bench also gives him way more confidence and initiative because most benches are just not going to have that kind of firepower to go against the Mavs. But the Pelicans are going to be a test. Like, I'm really, really interested. I am questioning, though, like, I don't know what the Pelicans' depth looks like because I just don't know their roster.
It's kind of similar to Dallas. Like, they don't have enough shooting. I think Dallas has more shooting. But, you know, if you were to kind of line them up on paper, you would say their top three is a more talented trio than our top three.
Exactly. That's what I would say. Like, I mean, as the players I think of off the top of my head, I can think of like five. Like Jose Alvarado, Zion, obviously, CJ, and Brandon Ingram, and then probably Herb Jones, also a great defender. Then I guess Jonas Valanciunas, but like, I guess Larry Nance is a good player, but it's like it's hard to really say they have a super deep roster. But when you have Zion, CJ, and Brandon Ingram, like that's an insane offensive trio.
Well, it's simply, for me, it's two things. So Leo mentioned this in the chat earlier. How does the rebounding work for both teams? Can the Mavericks not get crushed on the boards? It's an interesting one. And then who gets who in foul trouble first is the big thing, because it's like, you know, Maxi Kleber will probably spend some time on Zion. Josh Green will probably spend some time on Zion. And then, you know, you mentioned like Jose Alvarado and Herb Jones will probably guard Luka. And the question, you know, got some minutes on Luka. And it's like the question is who gets work in and who's able to sort of bait some easy foul calls. I mean, that was the big thing with the Phoenix game the other night, is they got Ayton into foul trouble early, and that was what allowed them to really take advantage of Phoenix's lack of depth, because it just causes cascading problems. And we've mentioned a couple of times in the show already that the Dallas Mavericks have been really good about drawing fouls. So we'll see. Those sort of the things I'm going to be looking for early, at least right now.
For sure. And I think part of it is just like, okay, what is Christian Wood going to do? Because like Jonas Valanciunas obviously is such a paint dominant player. Now, obviously, I think JaVale is going to start. And I think what we've seen from these two games is when JaVale plays a center very similar to himself, like Steven Adams, who is very much, you know, going to roam in the paint and not really do much else except for rebound and play rim defense. Like, he does an okay job. And Jonas is kind of like that, except I don't think Jonas's defense is like the best, obviously, but he's still adequate. So it'll be interesting. Like, is Jonas going to go up against Christian Wood, and like, can Christian Wood also take care of that matchup? Because, like you talked about, he draws a lot of fouls, and we haven't really seen that from a Luka team. And I think it's interesting. Like, this roster, is it the most talented roster? No, but I think you could argue this is the first roster that around Luka kind of fits his skill set more than any other in his 5 years here in Dallas.
Giving Luka like a good roll man is the big difference. Now, Powell was an amazing roll man, but they maximized what Powell could do, and we saw against the Suns in the playoff, Warriors too. Good defensive teams take away the role. So after that, you have to have something else, and that's where Woodward comes in, and that's where the Mavericks having these big shooters all works together. Like they've built a strong team.
Exactly. I think, it's kind of like Luka doesn't necessarily have to worry about what Christian Wood is doing at all times, whereas when it's Dwight Powell or even like JaVale McGee, he has to worry about what they're doing because, he has to facilitate for everyone. Whereas with Christian Wood, he doesn't necessarily have to be like, oh, okay, like what is Christian doing? It's kind of like, okay, he knows Christian Wood understands what to do to either, free up the space or be in a spot to get the pass. And then you saw it. Like last night, I was thinking like Christian Wood then makes the easy pass to Maxey, and I think in the Phoenix game, he makes like an easy pass up to the 3 to Reggie. Like Christian Wood just adds an extension where, before it might have been Luka has to go all the way into the paint and then kick out. Now you do the short roll, and then Christian Wood can be the one to kick out. And Christian Wood can probably at some point, it's going to be where Luka gets double teamed, and then Christian Wood is going to get double teamed in the paint, and then it's going to be even easier for guys to shoot. And it's going to be interesting. Obviously, the Pelicans as a real test this early on, but I think it's a good kind of just quick measuring stick. It's not going to obviously indicate anything because we're so early in the season, but it'll be fun.
Well, thanks for hanging out.
Thank you. Also, go Stars on a 4-game road trip. It's going to be brutal, but Stars look good.
I have no hockey takes. I cannot consume any more sports.
The Stars, okay, it's weird because the Stars were like, if you had to compare them to a team, they were like, I don't even know how you compare them to anything because there's nothing like them in the NBA. They just took, essentially they let teams take 100 shots on goal, and then they would like nick one goal and like barely win. And it's why in the playoffs last year, like Jake Ottinger, who's the keeper, I think they had something stupid like 68 shots on goal, and he saved 65 of them or something stupid, and it was like a historic performance that no one had seen since like the 90s. But now the Stars are good. Like they actually score goals, and it actually looks okay.
Well, there you go. Well, thanks, man. We'll talk soon.
Thank you. Same.
All right, so we had a question in the chat that I thought was a good one. It was from Jacob. He said, where do you think Frank fits when he comes back? And I'm sure they'll try him at some of these Josh minutes. I'm sure they'll try a couple of different things to them. He's not a ball handler guy, but obviously his wing defense is pretty good. Frank also seems to have a heck of a lot more confidence in his shot than Josh, even though I kind of like Josh's shot better. Frank does the thing where he can take the same shot twice in a row and it can be like wide left and not hit anything, and then the other one can go, perfect swish. Drives me crazy. Let's see here. I think we got one more guy, a couple more guys. Christian, how you doing, buddy?
Yeah, it's been a minute. Good to talk to you. I was surprised you weren't watching the Chiefs. I'm actually in Kansas City right now, and as a Raider fan, it's kind of weird seeing all these Chiefs fans. But so I was just wanting to talk about like Christian Wood's defense. He's kind of been this guy. Like I think people just thought he was, some awful defender or whatnot. Definitely can be if he's not trying, but he's always actually been pretty good as a weak side defender and out on the perimeter. And I think those are really the two things that he's shown so far on the defensive end. And realistically, I think that's kind of all we need from him. Of course, it'd be great if he could, be a little bit stronger in the post and things like that. But I was interested in your take in regards, and you alluded to it a little bit earlier, but in terms of what this team's like composition is, it feels like this is one of the first times in a really long time where we have at least 10, maybe 11 guys that at least do one thing really well. Do you think that could kind of be the buffer between how well we played last season? Or do you think that's something that's not going to really translate in terms of winning playoff games?
I'm not sure, because it's like when you're talking regular season stuff, it's a little bit of a gamble, because it's, if you assume, all right, the Mavericks have 8 guys that you like and then 3 more guys who you think can give them something depending on the matchup, then you sort of get like gambling that will work. The particular guy, the 9th, 10th, 11th guys that you're trying will do the positive things you need them to do as you select them in the right order. It's just, I don't really feel that they have the go-to depth that they will need in the long term. It's game 2, though. It's game 3. So maybe somebody comes through and establishes a little bit more of a position within that, and then they'll figure it out. How that would translate to what they ended up doing last year is, we know this. When Luka plays basketball, the Mavericks win 70, like they win something like 70% of the games. It's just, you go back to 2019, he sprains his ankle at the opening seconds of a Miami game, and then is basically not the same the rest of the year. He comes back and he's okay. He's obviously amazing in the bubble, but the bubble is after a 3-month hiatus. We're talking like true regular season basketball. And then the year after that, he's not. Did I get that right? Yeah, 1920. Sorry, some of these years start to blur together. Then the previous 2 seasons, he it was like a running up that hill, for him, where he just slowly gets better because he's slowly getting into shape. And if we get 70, 72 games of Luka like this, I think he's going to be an MVP candidate. I know everybody, that sort of stuff doesn't really matter right now, but that's the winning difference much more than anything along the depths of the team roster, at least to me.
Yeah, I was just wondering, because like the more that I started thinking about it is the kind of traits that we have, like the players that have kind of like a singular really good trait, right? Is like Bertans shooting,
sure,
Frank defense, to where it's all traits that translate to the playoffs. But the thing is, they're so bad in other areas that, it makes me hesitate. Like every time you put one of them on the floor, you're giving something up. So I'm going to be interested to see how it plays out. And one thing, just off the top of my mind, I thought it was super unfair to Tim to put him in playing clutch minutes against the Suns in his first game back from a lengthy injury. And I just have no idea what Kidd was doing there. That's why, even beyond the free throws, I thought it was his fault, because, Tim's just been bad, but I also think we kind of expected that. Like, I don't know really if people expected him to come out
if he hits like 2 more threes these past 2 games, he's 3-10. I don't know. And if he hits, particularly against the Phoenix Suns, if he just hits 1 of the open threes that man gets, then I think the narrative feels a lot different around him. But getting to the line is good for a guy. See the ball go through the hoop. I think Tim turns around offensively. I'm much more worried about him defensively, because he just doesn't seem to know what to do. And I don't understand how that's possible when you've been part of this team this long. Like, I just don't know if he can really wrap like the team core concept, because it's like he makes the wrong choice a lot. So that's a little more difficult to parse out.
And we put him on John Bain for most of his defensive assignments, which I just thought was strange, I guess, to say. Yeah. But I feel a little bit more optimistic than I did at the beginning of this year. I really thought it was going to be, like, I felt we were going to make the playoffs if, as long as Luka stays healthy, obviously. But
right,
feeling a little bit more optimistic. So I guess that's something I'd feel a lot more optimistic if we actually won against Phoenix.
For sure.
But, definitely should be an exciting year. And as always, good to talk to you. And I'll talk to you here soon.
All right. Have a good day. All right. Coming up next and last is our man, Ewan. What's up? It's been a long time. Welcome back. Hit that unmute button there at the bottom.
Hey, Kirk. What's up?
Howdy. What you going on today?
Hey, it's been a while, man. Just got off work, So your notification popped up. I'm like, yeah. It's been hard for me to get on, man, because, East Coast and these late games, trying to stay up, and especially after the Suns game. It was like 1:30 when it was brutal. But I must say, getting ready to watch a Mavs game and then watching it, regardless if we win or lose, your show is the next thing that's like on the menu right after. It doesn't matter if we lose or win. Hearing you do the show is like the next priority after that, because friends don't understand, your significant other don't understand, but we understand, you understand. So I just want to, keep giving you your kudos for doing your thing, you know what I'm saying?
Well, thank you. That's very kind of you to say.
Yeah, man. You trust me, your show is I love it. I think we all love it. But I want to get on for that Suns one. And honestly, if you won that game, I think that would have been.
I didn't want to get on for the Suns one. It was like 1 a.m. We're all like, there's about 100 of us in here just bitching.
Yeah, I felt I was like kind of like a must-win for them, and we left them off the hook because the narrative would have been a lot rough losing that first game and then losing again to Portland, back-to-back bad games. But that's all I want to see on that. But this Memphis game is like. I've always said it before. All these young boys that people always say that Luka, maybe better than Luka, is coming for Luka. I was watching the Memphis game when they was playing the Rockets, and the announcers were saying, Ja Morant, he's the most dominant player in the NBA, and I'm like, let's be realistic. Like, he's not even more dominant than Giannis, much less Luka, But it's like whenever Luka faced him, Tatum, he owns them. It's like it's not even close. He owns them, no matter who's on the court, no matter who's playing. He just always makes a statement like, okay, I heard what you guys were saying a few days ago. I heard what you guys were saying last week or whatever it is. He owns them.
That's an interesting thought. I wonder how, I've never done this. Like, I want to say like Joel Embiid might be one of the guys who has the best record against him. Probably Jokic and the Nuggets have a pretty good record against Luka, and maybe I want to say the Giannis stuff is almost 50-50. Giannis seem to really love battling. That's an interesting thought because you're right. I disrespect the shit out of the Celtics and the Grizzlies because Luka just wears them.
He owns them, and those players on those teams, it seems like they're like really inferior to Luka when they play. When Jason Tatum plays Luka, how many buzzer beaters he's done against them? Ja Morant, buzzer beater, it's not even close. So that conversation shouldn't even be happening. But like to get back to the team, it's just Christian Wood, I don't want him to start. The way he's going on the bench, you can't depend on Tim Hardaway. You can't depend on Josh Green. Maxey, you don't know what he's gonna give you. You need that. You need that. So I wouldn't mess with him starting. I would leave it just as it is. Get some run with the starters and then, beat up on the opposing bench as much as you can. And with him being able to draw the fouls, him and Luka, it's like we should be in a bonus pretty much every game with at least like 4 minutes left in the quarter. At least the way he's able to, draw fouls and Luka's able to draw fouls. And I don't want him to come into the starting lineup and then once him or Luka goes out, it's a shit show. Like I like how it is. I like the stability of how it is. I like how he can beat up on the bench players and then play well with the starters. Like I just love how it's going right now.
It's good to be happy. The point of sports is to enjoy it, and it's been a mostly enjoyable 1-1 start.
Yeah, and that City Edition uniform, I kind of like it. So
I like the color. I like the statement ones that wore last night look nice. I like them.
Yeah. But one more thing, that alley-oop to Wood and Luka to Wood on the fast break. If you watch that, someone posted on Twitter like the same alley that Kobe threw to Shaq.
Oh, that's Mavs Moneyball's Panda Hank. We claim him, Panda Hank 41.
Yeah, that was nice, man. That was nice.
Yeah, that's real fun.
But like I said, always looking forward to your show after every game, win or lose, and we back on the ground for the season, man. We back here for for the long haul.
That's
you know?
right. Well, maybe we'll see you
Do it.
Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday since we have a 4-game week ahead of us, folks.
Listen,
all right.
Pain and joy. We ready for it. We're going to be ready.
All right. You have a good day, man. Thanks for coming on.
You too, man. Thank you.
All right. Like I said, 4 games, lots of content, lots of stuff. Mavs Moneyball will be pumping out work. Be sure to go over there, check out the pieces folks have written. We'll see how things go. This has been a great show for a Sunday afternoon. I appreciate you all taking time to hang out with me. And, we'll be back a little later in the week. Have a great week.